Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Sunbury Motors, North 4th Street in Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf.
Hey, it's good to be back. Yeah, it's funny. That's one of the best things about what we get to do is to see the different campuses. But the other part of it is, like, fans don't really get this. So, like, what's it like there? But they ask in a way that's like, say something bad about that place. That's what they want to hear. Well, it's nothing like State College.
Or you're like, or like a tourist would.
Yes, right? Yeah, you're right. Like, you want to look at me, criticize. What's it like there? It's like, look, these college campuses have their own personality.
Yep, they do.
The people within those campuses have their own culture, their own little society within society. And what people don't understand about what we get to do is that we love all of them. Right, for the things that make them the same and for the things that make them different and unique. Like, we love all of them because what you realize is they're just people.
Yep.
Like everywhere else, they're just people. They want what's best for their little school, and sometimes the mistakes they make are that they think that they're the only school in the country. Same mistakes we make, right? That we are such fans of what we know and what we love that we hate everybody else. And it's like, can we just stop doing that and realize there's more that makes us the same than that which makes us different type of thing? Like,
I mean, John, look, it's interesting. And I totally get this because you get locked in on who you are. Yeah. But sometimes fans have such tunnel vision that they don't realize that other places have the same issues you do.
Yes. And they're called human issues, right? Like we think it's like the conversation about, wow, we live in. I spoke at a church a couple weeks ago. It's my cousin's church, and it's funny. He's my cousin, but he's like 13 years younger than me, and he's a senior pastor. I was like, wow, I'm that old. So I spoke at his church, and I went to say something. I was like, brothers and sisters, we live it is a crazy time. And then I stopped and I said, you know what? I take it all back. That is my own self-consumption that thinks that our time is crazier than any other time before. Yeah. Because our issues are the same. They're human issues, just like our issues in State College are so similar to the issues that you might be seeing in Bloomington, Indiana, or West Lafayette. They're called people issues, and a lot of times our passions create those issues. And that's where fandom makes things crazier than they probably need to be.
Yeah. Penn State's basketball schedule was released. Now, the one thing, and I'll be honest, I've known about this for a while, but they're going to play Purdue at the Palestra.
Yeah, it's January 8th, right?
Yep, January 8th on a Sunday. Yep. Look, you know that building. You also know the acoustics of that building. Yep. And you've been there for, John, you and Joe have been there for double and triple headers there along the way. What does that building as a building mean to the sport?
Oh my gosh! I mean, look, it's the Fog, it's Cameron Indoor, and it's the Palestra. Yep. To me, like those are your historic venues, and in a time where everything moves too stinking fast, historic venues are still as awesome as it's ever been. Right, where it's loud. Like the whole place smells like popcorn. Yep. Right?
Yes,
there's
it does.
There's a good chance there's going to be a few slip and fall lawsuits by the end of the evening. Like, there's so many things that, like, you couldn't – people say, like, oh, you wouldn't build it like this today. I'm like, no, you don't get – you couldn't. Like, there's not a lot of compliance in the construction of these places. It's a special place to meet. My sister works there. You know, my youngest sister, the baby – Carly that you met when we were in college, she was like 3-4 years old.
3-4 years old, running around the court after games, and then sang the national anthem at the national championship game in the Final Four.
Yes, yeah, and she told me that they asked her to walk on the women's basketball team at Villanova, and she was working for Jay Wright and the men at the time. And I was like, Carly, you have no idea what it's like as a walk-on. Like, there are so many silly rules for walk-ons where you can't eat with a team.
Right.
Like you will learn a lot of things that'll make you better in life because of it.
Yes.
But just know that it won't be the same experience that your brother and I had.
Yeah.
Frankly, I was very, and so she decides to join the team, and within a month, Harry Peretta puts her on scholarship for the next 3 years. She got 2 bachelor's degrees and 2 master's degrees on freaking Villanova. When here I am telling her, no, work for Jay Wright the rest of your life, and she sung the national anthem. But she's working there now, and I get to go every now and then. I got a buddy who's an associate athletic director. And it is still one of the most special places for basketball. but frankly, for history.
Yes.
I think when you're there, you feel the history. And one of the things that I spoke about, it was just funny kind of coming back to what I spoke about at the church was, I was like, dude, it's where do we find our peace, right? We find our peace more so in our insignificance. And that's what I feel at a place like the Palestra. You go to a lot of these major, these NBA arenas, right? And you're like, look how beautiful this locker room, look how sleek and sexy all these things are. And it makes you feel significant and makes you feel insecure in the same time, which is the weirdest thing in the world, right? I feel significant and insecure. Yet you go to the Palestra and you feel like I'm insignificant when it comes to the history of this game, but there's a weird piece about that. Let me go out and ball. It is the weirdest thing. I can't describe it to people. They don't know how to really hear that, but I'm like, when you find that peace in your insignificance, meaning that there's been a million dudes before you, and there's going to be many more after you, there's a weird piece there that allows you to go ball. And I think Penn State's had great success being there.
Oh,
right?
no doubt.
Two wins over two really good programs.
Oh, in the Big Ten, yes. And also, when the Atlantic 10 tournament was there before you and Joe came here, look, they went in there and they were able to win some games in the Atlantic 10 tournament.
Yeah, but Steve, that's because they were playing at the lovely and amazing, and I wish we could have played their Rec Hall.
Yes.
Which was so similar.
Well, it's built by the same architect.
Yeah,
same architect. Rec Hall, Palestra, same architect.
Yep. And I mean, how many times did Joe and I go into Tim Curley and politics and play politics and say, Tim, please, like, why are we playing Bucknell on December 23rd at the Bryce Jordan Center? There's 1,500 people there, and 1,000 of them are working the game.
Yeah.
And the rest are friends and family that are annoyed that they had to drive up.
Right.
And we almost lost half the time, too, as you will know.
I'm well aware.
Steve, hey, wait, I got to tell you a quick story. I should save this for my own dang show, but I can't help myself. I got to tell it. So we're playing Bucknell the very next day. It's like the 21st of December. I think we're playing them on the 22nd. And as a team, we were all sitting down, and we're like, all right, guys, we got to talk to Coach, man. Like, he's really been pushing us. And part of it is because there's no class, there's no students on campus. He's been really just crushing us on the court in practice, like 3.5, 4-hour practices. You know, those practices where we're supposed to sign off and say that it was only 2.5 hours? Well, they were like 4. And we were finally at a point where we're saying, we're not signing that paper anymore. So, I stood at some of those, so go ahead. Yes, of course. And you're like, oh, guys, check the clock on this one. I think we hit 20 hours about 4 days ago. So we all sit down in the locker room, and Joe's like, all right, guys, we got to, we've got to talk to them. We've got to talk to them and say, like, we're beat, like, we're tired. And as a freshman, I had to do all the practice. I couldn't sit out, even though I started and played 30-plus minutes. I had to practice every minute.
Yep.
So we said, all right, well, when Coach comes in, we're going to talk to him. And everyone's like, yeah. Well, Coach comes in. Who are the only two dudes talking?
Joe and John Crispin.
I'm looking around going, Titus, come on, Jassy, Jared Stevens, somebody. Well, no one says anything, so I stand up, and Joe's like, dude, you just killed it. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, someone had to say something. They're like, yeah, but it couldn't be the two of us. So to this day, we brought that up to Titus. I said, Titus, you're the greatest team I'd ever played for, except the night before the Bucknell game.
Oh, yeah. But if he or Jarrett, one or the other, had said anything, there would have been impact.
Yes.
You standing up second gave you an extra hour of practice.
Yeah. I was like, oh. Well, and then like 3 weeks later, I'm out for 4 games with a stress fracture.
I remember.
It was like, goodness gracious, that was a whole other story.
Yeah, I know.
Oh Lord.
But I'll tell you what kind of value I put on the Palestra. There was in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a picture up on my wall, and it's 3 press passes and 3 pictures underneath it. Press pass corresponding with picture.
Mm-hmm.
St. John's, Madison Square Garden. Rose Bowl, USC.
Can live with that. Wait, was I? I think I was at that one.
Right, and Palestra, Penn State, and Michigan State. Right, that was all in a 2.5-week span. Now you want to talk about like heavyweight venues to go to in 2.5 weeks? That's about as good as it gets.
So that was all 08.
08, yeah, 08, 09. So December.
I was at that Rose Bowl. That was the Mark Sanchez.
Yes, Mark Sanchez can't miss a pass game.
I was dating a player's sister at the time.
Yes, and I know I do know which player it was.
Yes,
you introduced me to her. So,
I did. Okay,
yes,
that's right.
yes,
I did drag her back there, but
yes.
she didn't make the cut. It's all right.
I know. You did extremely well in life, my friend.
I've done all right. Sometimes it's just all these accidents come together and look like it all worked out the way it's supposed to. I guess it has, but yeah, no, it's but I ended up marrying a Hoosier.
It's okay. She's terrific.
She's an absolute keeper. I'm not, but she is. She's dealing with my two what they call ear infection boys. Both my boys have ear infections.
Wonderful.
So she's left to deal with that. Yeah, it's like when you get kids, they're supposed to just take care of themselves, right? Like, look, blow your nose, just get yourself ready for the day. No, this whole potty training for a near 2.5-year-old.
There are certain milestones, my man, that you got to reach in life where you feel like you have made a major step forward as well. All right, they can walk. Okay. All right, they're potty trained. All right, they're going to school. I mean, there's like certain milestones. I mean, I've lived them all. Hey, I got to ask you one serious question. Actually, that last part was serious. But the one serious question. One of the issues they're going to have to talk about when it comes to the college football playoff, and it dovetails into the NCAA tournament. Revenue distribution is going to be one of them. But when they talk revenue distribution, they're talking about conferences and schools. Okay? How serious do the conversations have to get as to what they have to do with student athletes?
Look, it's got to get real serious. But Steve, I got to tell you, I see more so college basketball than college football. I see college basketball dying. It's dying. The money doesn't tell you so, but the money is really geared towards the football rights. Like, everybody is paying out the wazoo to get football on their television. I can tell you this right now. Fox Sports doesn't give a rip about basketball.
Yeah.
They're not paying analysts.
Right.
They're not traveling analysts. They're not sending anybody to games. They're just going to do this as cheaply and easily as possible. They are paying for football.
Right.
And what's happening is there's all this attention given to football, yet all these basketball players, because they've been lumped in with football, feel entitled to this, I don't know, this arbitrary number of I'm worth $1 million a year.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is less and less people are actually interested in basketball. There's more and more product out there. The numbers that are tied to football, but really kind of go football and basketball as one package. The basketball seems to think, well, no, we're good. We're bringing all this money and we're showcasing. No, you're really not. It's football first. If that's the case, I think the conversation has to be made about football first. I think they need to be personal and individual to each sport because, Steve, this is coming from a guy who had 13 concussions or 10 documented concussions by the time I was 16, 13 by the time I graduated high school. I'm dealing with it. I deal with the reality of what's coming, early onset dementia and Alzheimer. I deal with migraines. I deal with brain bleeding. There are real things that we need to address in terms of the health of football players, particularly when you look at the culture of football. LeBron James said this, my kids don't have to play football. Football is a way out for the people in my community. That's what LeBron James said about football. If that's the case, that's the one thing I probably agree with LeBron James on. And I have to start looking at football differently than basketball in the sense that your livelihood matters. Your opportunity to play this game is such a small window. And for the guys that go on to play professionally and make it in the NFL, that percentage is so, so small. So I think we have to look at the revenue from football separately from basketball. The problem is, at that point, basketball may die as we know it. And it'll come back in the form of smaller, mid-major level Division I sports. But I'm telling you, I don't think people realize what's upon us. And it's the dog chasing cars. I said that kind of about Billis, and I do like Billis. He's a good friend. But you're the dog chasing cars. You want to abandon everything that makes us great, everything that we love. And when you get everything you wanted, you have no idea what to do with it. And right now, no one knows what to do with basketball because it's not until March that people care.
Yeah.
And the money is only there because of it being lumped in with football. But if you're going to talk about what to do with players, you have to do it separately. And if we do that, I'm scared to find out what happens to college basketball.
My friend, great to have you with us. Great to have you as part of the team. And
yeah. How about it?
It's awesome. It's awesome. It's exactly what I hoped it would be.
I got to stop setting my brother up so much, though. I set up all these conversations, and I never get to be the expert. Joe sounds like his genius, and half of them are my freaking thoughts. I got to be better at being you, Steve. That's what it is. Maybe we need to have a lunch or something.
We'll do that, John. Hey, it's awesome. Great to have you with us, my friend.
Thanks, Steve. Always a pleasure, man.